Okay, away we go. We're solving an equation, so we're isolating the variable. So we would add 9 to both sides, and then how do you kill the square root? You square both sides. So the answer, x, is 17 squared, which is 289. I'll show you a little calculator trick that's always part of my classes if you get in trouble. It's called Math Last. So you hit the math button and you go down to the last choice. This solves any equation for you. It's called Solver. You can see I have entered an old equation. In the first block, you hit the left side of the equation, which is the square root of x, I already forgot, minus 9. And in the bottom box, you hit the right side of the equation. You hit OK by hitting the F5 graph button, and then you hit it again, F5, twice, and it solves for you. It interpolates funny, so you can see the answer is 288.99999. Ha ha, that is 17 squared 289. So a cool little use of what I call equation solver right there. Here's another calculator problem. If you're a real math student of the game, you know that the 1/2 power means square root. So the square root of something is 8, right? The square root of 64 is 8. And if you're a student of the game, the negative button, the negative means flip the number. So it's the square root of 164 flipped on its arse, and the answer is 8. Another great use of the calculator, if you're good at it, second quick clear gets me off of here. Open parentheses, we could do this whole problem. We don't have to know a thing. 1 over 64, and then you close the parentheses, and what power were we raising it to? You could do another fracca if you want. I always just do negative 1 over 2, but it'll give you the same answer, which is 8. You could have also fracca'd that negative 1/2 if you wish. You could have gone, I'm taking a little too much time than I want here, 1 over 64 raised to the fracca power. So you raise it and you hit another alpha y equals and a negative 1 over 2. That's the same exact thing as I had before. I honestly wouldn't have used the fracca at all. I'd have just used division for my fractions. Okay? Let's go. Number 3. Which has 1 decimal. Well, I've known these forever. 1/4 is 0.25. 3/5 is 0.6 terminating, 5/8 is 625, and there's your right answer. 2/3 is the devil's number, huh? The 6's repeat forever. You could have done that on your calculator as well. What's 2 divided by 3? And you see it's 0.6666. Watch out. The calculator rounds up on the last one. So with 1 repeating non-zero, the answer's 2/3. They've been loving this fair coin problem. 6 flips is not enough to decide whether a coin is fair or not. I don't even know that number, how many it would take. If you flipped it heads 100 times in a row, I think there's some mathematical formula that could prove that it's a bad coin or a loaded coin or a weighted coin. But the strongest evidence is the most heads. So that would be 5 out of 6. Because 5 out of 6 would mean the highest percentage. 2 out of 3 is high, but none of these really are enough to suspect that the coin's not fair. But 5 out of 6 would be the largest percentage. Do I make sense? It would be the largest percent of heads, 83%. But honestly, I would have to flip it a lot more times than that. Okay, moving right along. Anna needs to raise $200. Watch out for this one. She already saved $45, So how much does she have to raise now? And she's going to go $15 a week. So we divide 15 into 155. And watch out, gang. This is not round up or round down. It's not round down, it's round up. Because she's going to need the 11th week to raise her money. Make sense? So the answer is not 10, it's 11. She's going to need the 11th week to push her over the amount. So how much did she have? She wants to raise 200. She already has 45, so she has to raise 155. And then you divide that by $15 a week. And the 10th week ain't going to be enough. She has to go to the next week. So it's what we call an automatic roundup. Y'all okay? Y'all look weird. Similar triangles.
Is this the ACT?
Yes.
Yeah.
Similar triangles must have the same what? Angles. Similar just means proportional. So like these two would be an attempt at drawing two similar triangles. They're just in ratio to each other. Or the way I learned it, they fit inside one another. So it fit inside of each other as a perfect mirror. So would they have the same area, perimeter, or side lengths? No, not necessarily. But they do have the same angle measures. Okay? Number next, don't screw this up. It's also the first use of one of my programs, which is called FOIL. If you have program FOIL on your calculator, if you don't, you can write me and I'll send it to you via email. But you have to FOIL this, and you would get 9x squared minus 27x twice plus 81. I hope everybody knows how to do that. It's right here. Okay? Ratio. It's a program on my calculator, yes. I don't have time to give it to you right now. I'm busy. Okay? Now, ratio, I always have a dirty trick when they say ratio of east to west. East to west is 11 to 13. I just slap an X on them because they have to be some multiple of that. And since there are 34, 32 people at school, I just add them up, and that's how many students we have. By the way, you could use equation solver again if you're real hot to trot on that. I just divide 34, 32 by 24, since 11 and 13 make 24, and you get 143. Careful, 143 ain't the answer, because we want to know how many are going to go to east. So what you have to do is plug that into 11x. So we would times it by 11, whoosh, there it is, 1573 is the answer B. I noticed the other one, I tried it when I was practicing, 13x ain't on there, so they're nice people. All right, if you do an hourly wage, y'all all know about overtime, huh? Or maybe y'all are too young to know about overtime. When you work more than 40 hours by law, they have to pay you time and a half for that. So how much is this chap working? 40 hours at $20.10 a week. But after that, he gets overtime. So if he works 54 hours, how many hours of overtime that is? 14. But his pay is not $20.10. His pay is increased what we call time and a half. Huh? So you would times that by 1.5. They don't want the mathematical answer, they want the formula. Which one is it? Right here. That's $40 at $20.10 an hour. This is $14 at $20.10 an hour, jacked up 1.5. And by the way, that's law. If somebody works you 42 hours, you charge them 2 hours of overtime or call the popo, because it's illegal. All right, here's a fun one. This is the imaginary number. We all know that there's no square root of -9, huh? So when you kill the square with the square root, what happens? You have to pluck the I out, and you get 3I for the answer. By the way, this calculator does I for you. The I, the imaginary number, 3 second decimal And if I square that, I'm checking my answer now, I'll get -9. By the way, the calculator solver does not work for imaginary numbers. So if I plug that into solver, it would tell me to take a long walk on a short pier. It's not going to give me 3i. It's going to say, sorry, Charlie, there's no answer. So it doesn't solve imaginary numbers. Too bad I didn't program the calculator, because I would have programmed that in. This is a cute one. You ever do scatter plots? And you scatter plot and you plot the line. Well, that's a good line. It's just what? Very good. Too low, huh? It needs to be raised. So do we need to change the slope? Heck no. What do we need to raise? The y-intercept, huh? So we have to up the y-intercept to right here to make it fit. That's called the line of best fit. How are we doing? 11 juniors and 79 seniors, that's 90 people. So what is the probability that the first member is a junior? 11 out of 90. But that's not what they're asking. They're saying the first member is a junior. That means there's not 90 anymore. There's what? 89. So what is the probability that the second one would be a senior? There's 79 seniors out of 89 people. Why 89 people? I threw one of the juniors away by picking him or her first. Okay? They love that conditional probability. They love this too. They're saying this is the size and the weight of actual, and then they give us a formula, huh? So what am I going to do to a formula? I'm going to plug in the smallest engine size is 2. So I'm going to plug in 2 to that formula. Help me, my math isn't that good. What's 375 times 2 plus 370? Is that 370 was right? So 1120 is the answer. Oops, I'm off a little bit, huh? I'm off. It should only weigh 1,041. So how much am I off by? You subtract 1,041, and that's my error, 79. Okay? So always kind of a weird question with a lot of these. I plug in the 2, see what answer I get, and see how much I'm off by, huh? Here's a good one. We've got a domain question. And you guys in my class should be real good at it. Domain is the leftness to rightness. So what's the domain of this thing? 0 to 13, huh? Because it starts at 0 and ends at 13. What's the range of this graph? 0 to 860. Now, if you read the problem, it's about, I start 860 meters away, and as I walk, I get closer. That's why it's descending, and when I get to 13 minutes, the answer is 0 because I've arrived. So that's what they're graphing there. By the way, because it's a line, I must walk at the same rate the whole time, huh? Not running and stopping or walking and running. Okay, all that's good. This is all straight off the calculator. You can plug that in. Who knows how to plug in I on the calculator? Fracka? Very good. My brain doesn't work anymore. 10i plus 2. So you go 10, 10i plus 2, and it's over 2i, huh? Is that right? Whoosh, answer 5 minus I. Kind of figured it needed to have an I in the answer, huh? And it's not even worth going over. I wouldn't even touch it, but you would times the top and bottom by I to do that. We can go over that at your leisure, but I would use the calculator and nail that. This is one of my programs. Ding, 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 ding. This is program Simul. for simultaneous equations. Anybody want it? You can write me. I'll leave my phone number on the video on YouTube. If you're doing it in real life, I would times the top one by 6. Remember this? I would times the top equation by 6 and do what I call terminator. Hasta la vista, y. So it would be 57x is 47, so x would be 47 over 57.
Right. It's not all calculators like
It would be under the Polysimul 2. I just wrote my own program for it, so you don't have to look as hard. But yes, it is on Polysimul. But my program works better. If you don't have it, I'll give it to you. Here's an interesting one. Ironically, for the guy sitting in front of me today, this is the next thing we're going to do is graph trig graphs. So you may have heard of amplitude from science. That's the height of the wave, and it's that number right there. So if that number was a 3, the amplitude would be 3. If that number was a 5, it would be 5 high. So how high does this graph go? It goes to 2. Okay. Period is a little harder. Period, a graph has a period if it just repeats its cycle. So this is 2 periods of the sine graph. What do you see in front of you? 3 periods. See 3 crests of the wave? It's going through 3 times, so it goes through 3 periods between 0 and 1. So the period is 1/3 because it does it 3 times in 1 unit. When we get to the graphs, there's a mathematical formula. You take 2 pi and you divide by the number in front the x. Pi's cancel. Look at the answer. 2 over 6, which is 1/3. So what is the right choice here? The period is 1/3 and the amplitude is 2. Solving for x. Most of y'all would do this. I would not. Cx is q plus ch, and then you divide by c. C cancels, and it's q over c plus h choice g. I would have just done it directly. I'd have divided by c, right away, and then added the h. Whoosh. Having fun? Here we go. I will draw this, and I'm doing no favors to anyone. I'm just drawing it. I don't know who the biggest is. RS is 18. ST is 12. RT is 27. Hey, who's the biggest angle? S, huh? Who's the littlest angle? R, huh? And then T would be in second place. What's the question? R is the least? Yes. Is it choice A? You're not listening, huh?
Yes.
A is right. Inverse function. How do you inverse a function? Well, since you're inversing it, you're switching the x and the y. So what do? I switch the x and the y. And then solve it. So it would be x plus 5 over 2. Whoosh. Inverse function, switch the x and the y. This one's kind of bad. The radius is 8. Now, if the circle's radius is 8, 8 to square 16. Since it's 8, huh? So what's the area of the square? 16 times 16, 256. Now we have to be very clever. We have to subtract a little piece of the pi, huh? So this would divide it into 8 pieces, huh? So my little slither that I'm missing is 1/8 area of circle. By the way, you could use the area of circle program here. it gives you the area of a circle with radius 8 is 64 pi. So it's 256 minus 8 pi. And then I have to subtract this right here. That's going to be tough. What is that? It's a triangle minus the slither. The triangle is 8 by 8. 8 times 8 is 64. So it's 32 minus the little slither, which is 8 pi. So look what happens to my 8 pi, guys. It cancels. So it's 256 minus 8 pi minus 32 plus 8 pi. The 8 pi ends up not mattering. The answer is 256 minus 32. By the way, educated guess, the slithers aren't very much, huh? So it's got to be less than 256, not much less, huh? So a smart person could have guessed that from a hunch, that it would just be a little less than 256. Am I making any sense? A dilation. You ever go to the dentist? The eye doctor, they put drops in your eye, makes them big. This must mean makes them small, because the 0.4 negative 16 becomes 1 negative 4. Well, duh, what am I doing? Dividing them by 4, huh? So what do you do to these guys? Divide them by 4. So the answer would be 3 negative 6f. Very popular. This is expected value, or EV. They love it. Expected value. Look, if I flip a coin and it lands tails, I'll pay you $10. What's your expected value? It's the probability times the value. So what did I say? I pay you how much? $10. What's the probability that it lands tails? 50%, 0.5, or 1 out of 2. So the expected value of that event would be 5. So what's the expected value of this event? You take the value and times it by the probability. So are you watching? Help me. It's 400 times 0.02 plus, what's the other one? 100 times its probability, 0.02. And what was the last one? Y'all are no help at all. 60 at 0.04. I add all those up. Why am I not doing the last one? Because it has a 0% chance. So that would just be adding 0, and I get the answer 1240. Y'all got that? They've been loving this question. I think it was on the other practice I gave you. Expected value. Anybody could do that. They just haven't heard of it before. Speaking of not heard of it before, have y'all ever done the bell curve? 34% fit here, 2% hit there. Well, that's 36%, which means 14% fit there. That's half the people, huh? Take it to the other side. 34, 14, and here are my smarty pantses. Those are the national merit finalists, the 2% that score the highest. So, what percent lies between 1,100 and 1,200? 14, huh? F. All the other answers would have been impossible, because if you put 17% right here, it would blow up and make more than 50, and it can't be. It's got to be 50-50. 50% on the left, 50% on the right. Ooh, this is a biggie. How many decimals are in the repeat, y'all? 7412, 7412, 7412. So to find the 323rd, just divide by 4. Just divide 323 by 4. Now, I'm an expert. at 0.75 means it's 3/4, so it's the third decimal. If you're not an expert, go 80 times 4, and that would give you 320. So the 320th place is the last, 21, 22, 23. The answer is 1. Okay? Another thing you could have done with that is 323 divided by 4. Math a fracca to make a fracca. And then alpha y equals 3. That makes it a mixed number. 80 3/4 means it's the third one. You dig it? If it was 80 1/4, it would be the first one. Y'all seen that problem before? That is one of the oldest tricks in ACT. They've been asking that since I started teaching. I swear, I've seen it 100 times. That one hadn't changed. Hey, some tree. I'm walking on the sidewalk and I see a tree. Angle of elevation. Have we been over that in this class? Yes. 25 degrees, huh? And I walk another 45 feet, and where do I arrive? At the base of the tree. So what are we looking for? The height of the tree, x. What trig function am I going to use? Chief SOHCAHTOA says tangent, is equal to x over 45. I told you about this before. They wouldn't do the actual answer. They want the exact answer. They wouldn't do the rounded one. What's this? A small hole is in a bag and it leaks and forms a cone. So the sand's dripping out or whatever's inside of there, sugar. By the time the hole is plugged, it'd form a pile, shape of a cone with a radius of 3 and a height of 2. So what's the volume of my thing? It's 1/3 pi r squared h. By the way, I have a cone program on my calculator in the cone volume. So it's I think it's the last program on my thing. So what do we have to do? Very good. Plug in r is 3, height is 2, and that would give me 18 pi, right? And now what are we doing? Given that the cone weighs, the granulated sugar weighs this much per inch, is closest that was left in the bag. So what do we have to do? 0.025 times the volume, which was 18 pi, right? And that's how much had leaked out, from the bag. And the bag was 1.5 pounds. So it'd be 1.5 minus that, minus ANSWA, or grab it, and that's how much is left in the bag. The choice is the little one, The bag's almost empty. How did I not notice if I was carrying it and all that was leaking? This one's weird. At 0, the concentration's 850. At 6, it's 151. And at 12 hours, it's 27. That's not linear, guys. If that was linear, it would be decreasing in a slope fashion. That's an exponential decrease. So it's exponential because the over equal time intervals, the concentration decreases by equal factors. The concentration decreases by equal factors. Now what I did was I took 850 and divided it by 151, and then I took 151 and divided it by the other answer, 27, and that's about the same thing. That's about 5.6. So the equal division is the thing. It's not equal differences like the choice, and it's certainly not a linear program. If it was a linear program, it would be decreasing by the same amount. All right, this one's got to be, since n is rational, you're taking away some rational number from this, like 3 or 5. It's got to be irrational, okay? Because it's not going to become rational unless it gets rid of the root 14. So that's what that answer is. You can play with that on the calculator. Hey, y'all are experts. What does x-intercept mean? Very good. It means that the y is 0, huh? So what happens to my y term? Hasta la vista, baby. X squared over 9 equals 1. So x squared equals 9. What is x? Technically plus or minus 3. You could just check the plus. All right, we got some tough ones. This is the one I talked about in class yesterday. You could type these right into your calculator, can't you? And the answer is, y'all are experts on graph, so you know it's got to be. Did I type the right answer in there? Did I put that on the quiz? No, it's a positive, huh? X plus 2. Oh, I gave you the quiz on that on purpose. Plus 4. That was from the quiz. I had copied it on purpose. And there you go. Whoosh. What's that look like? It looks like the graph in the model, huh? It's not the exponential model. What would that look like, gang? Whoosh. Right? So it's got to be the log model. And why isn't it C? Because C would have the vertical asymptote right 4, huh? Y'all learning anything? This is some words you may not have. W has 14 members. So it's 14 simple events. So it might be like me walking to my car this afternoon, me driving home, me going to walk the dogs. It's 14 events, and X has 11 events, none of which are the same as W. So the 11 events in X might be things unrelated to what I just said, for sure, huh? So the intersection of the events, Y, has what? Nobody, huh? Because there ain't nobody in both sets, huh? And the union of the two events, the union is what? Z must have what? 25 members, huh? Because it's got 14 plus 11. Make sense? So what's the size of the numbers? Z is the biggest, Y is the smallest, W is in second place. Y'all know your area? If I cut midpoints of all the sides, this guy is 1/4. Why? Because all the sides are half as long. A half times a half is 1/4. So this guy right here is 1/4. You can see it, can't you? This, and this. So this guy's 1/4, huh? Well, what do I do here? I make him half the size. So this little guy, FGH, I'm sorry, what is the ratio to area of ABC? ABC is the big one, to FGH is the little one. FGH must be 1/4 also. So it's 1/4 of 1/4, 16:1. Fraction of, you multiply. Perpendicular lines have what? Negative reciprocal slopes. So what must be the product of their slopes? -1, huh? That's what a negative reciprocal means. All right, I'm rounding this up. What is the greatest value? Well, what do I want? If I want this to be great, I want M to be as great as M can be. And I want N to be as little as can be. So I want 4 minus 10, which is what? 14. Got to know your synthetic division for this. We put -4 on the shelf, and on the top jar, we put these guys. Now, who knows how to synthetically divide? You drop the 2.5. 2.5 times -4 is -10. Then you add and get -40 times -4 is 160. So for these to cancel out, what does C have to be? -160. Answer 5 questions, yes or no. So how many ways is that? You can answer 2 ways. How many different times? 5. So what's the answer? 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, 32. It's the product of all the answers, huh? If it was 3 choices for each question, A, B, C, what would have been the answer, Jack? If there was a multiple choice like this test, with 4 answers per problem, it would be 4 times 4 times 4. This one was nasty. Given that 40% of M is equal to A, I just do a translation, huh? 104 M is A, and that 0.7A is B. Well, what do I want to do? I want to get M and B in the same equation. So I want to get rid of the A, huh? So I go B is A, divide both by 0.7, and then I can substitute this in for A. Making sense? So 0.4 M equals B over 0.7. Now I would divide by 0.4. What's point? I would just go 4/10. 4/10 M equals B divided by 7/10, so time 10/7. A little more algebraic than you want it to be. 28M cross multiply is 100B. So the question is, what if I multiplied this by 1.12? What would I get? So basically, I would probably divide by 28, and I would get M is 100 over 28, which is 50 over 14, which is 25 over 7. And then I would multiply 25 over 7 times 1.12, and that should give me the answer. Increasing it by 12%, and there's the answer 4. So it would be 4B. That's just substitution and playing around. We'll go over that later. And then the last 2 questions, this one's really crazy. The sum of the first 15 numbers. So that's 1 through 15. Y'all know how to do that? Let me add the first 100 numbers with y'all. This is a fun one. What's 1 plus 2 plus 3 all the way to 100? You watching? What's 1 plus 100? What's 2 plus 99? What's 3 plus 98? They're all 101. How many 101s do I have? Not 100, 50. Because it's the number divided by 2. So this question asks you to add 1 through 75. You ready? We can do it in 2 seconds. What's 1 plus 75? What's 2 plus 74? What's 3 plus 73? They're all 76, but how many do I have? Not 75. I have 75 over 2. That's how many pairs I have. So it's 76 times 75 divided by 2. Impress your friends and confuse your enemies. That's the sum of those numbers, 2850, huh? You got that trick? It's a dirty trick. What's the sum of the numbers 1 to 1,000,000? Come on, guys, y'all can do it. You can add all the numbers 1 to 1,000,000 in 2 seconds. 1,000,001, 500,000. It'd be 1,000,001 times 1,000,000 divided by 2. All right, and this one we already went over. What are the vertical asymptotes, guys? Did you learn anything, Andre, in our thing? You're on the World Wide Web. X equals 3 and -3. And where's the horizontal asymptote? It's a tie, huh? So when it's a tie, you go to the coefficients of the term y equals 3. Can I show you all that on the graphing calculator? Go fracka. It would be 3x squared over x squared minus 9. I would graph it. Did you see the graph acting a fool at -3 and 3? Now, what you might not see is on the tracer, if I go way the heck to the right, what am I getting closer and closer to, y'all? That's because there's a horizontal asymptote at y equals 3 for your final number. If I graph it, it's going to look just like it. Let me zoom standard, and I get it. See y'all later. Look how close it is. Y equals 3 is hugging that thing. Why is it hugging that thing? Because it's 3 over 1 for the horizontal. Well, that's all, folks. We are done.